Christopher Houghton Budd argues that while these two spheres may seem distinct, they are deeply interconnected. For example, when a company raises capital by issuing stocks, it is channeling resources from the financial economy into its operations in the real economy. Conversely, a booming stock market can create a sense of wealth that influences spending, hiring, and investment decisions in the real world. Olivia recalled the 2008 financial crisis, an event that starkly revealed how turmoil in the financial markets can spill over into the real economy, leading to job losses, business failures, and widespread economic hardship. Budd's work challenges us to reconsider this duality, urging policymakers, investors, and citizens alike to understand that the threshold between these economies is not fixed but constantly shifting. Practical tips. Learn the basics. Familiarize yourself with economic terms such as GDP, inflation, and stock market indices to understand how the real and financial economies interact. Follow economic news. Observe how changes in financial markets, interest rates, stock market trends influence everyday life, such as loan rates, employment, and prices. Reflect on interconnections. When reading about a stock market boom or bust, consider its potential impact on industries like manufacturing, retail, or services. Chapter 2. The Threshold, a critical juncture in modern economics. Budd introduces the concept of the threshold, a critical point at which the dynamics of the real and financial economies intersect in profound ways. According to Budd, we are at a threshold moment in modern economic history. Over the past few decades, financial markets have grown dramatically in scale and influence, often outpacing the real economy in terms of value and activity. This divergence has led to increased volatility, asset bubbles, and at times, devastating economic crises. Olivia was struck by the idea that this threshold is not static. It evolves with technological advances, regulatory changes, and shifts in global economic power. For instance, the rise of digital finance and high-frequency trading has transformed how quickly capital moves across markets, sometimes decoupling financial valuations from the underlying health of companies. This phenomenon can create a dangerous disconnect where a soaring stock market masks underlying weaknesses in production, employment, and consumer well-being. For example, consider the dot-com bubble of the late 1990s. As companies with little to no revenue saw their valuations skyrocket, purely based on market speculation. When the bubble burst, the repercussions were felt far beyond the financial markets. Investors lost billions, and the real economy suffered as companies collapsed and jobs were lost. Budd challenges us to rethink how we measure economic success. Rather than focusing solely on financial metrics like stock prices or trading volumes, we must also consider indicators of real economic health, such as job creation, innovation, and quality of life. Practical tips. Examine multiple indicators. When evaluating the health of an economy, look at both financial indicators, like stock market performance, and real economic indicators, such as employment rates and wage growth. Stay informed about digital trends. Understand how new technologies, like blockchain and AI, are reshaping financial markets and their link to the real economy. Engage in discussions. Participate in forums or reading groups focused on economics to deepen your understanding of these threshold dynamics. Chapter 3. The Role of Financial Innovation. Budd's book delves into how financial innovation has been a double-edged sword in modern economies. On one hand, innovations such as derivatives, securitization, and algorithmic trading have improved efficiency, provided new ways to manage risk, and opened up avenues for growth. On the other hand, these same innovations have sometimes created complex systems that are difficult to regulate and can lead to unforeseen consequences. Olivia remembered the enthusiasm surrounding the development of mortgage-backed securities before the 2008 crisis. These financial instruments were heralded as groundbreaking tools for spreading risk and increasing liquidity. However, as Budd explains, the very complexity of these innovations made them vulnerable to manipulation and collapse. The ensuing crisis not only shattered financial markets, but also led to widespread unemployment, foreclosures, and a significant contraction of the real economy. The key lesson is that financial innovation must be balanced with prudent risk management and robust regulatory oversight. Innovations should be designed with the real economy in mind, ensuring that they contribute to sustainable growth rather than creating systemic vulnerabilities. Practical tips. Understand the basics of financial instruments. Even if you're not a finance professional, Try to grasp how products like derivatives and securitization work. Question complexity. When encountering new financial products, ask whether their complexity adds genuine value or merely obscures risks. Advocate for transparency. Whether as a policymaker or a concerned citizen, push for clear, understandable financial practices and regulations. Chapter 4. The disconnect between markets and reality. A major theme in Finance at the Threshold is the growing disconnect between financial markets and the real economy. Over time, financial markets have increasingly come to operate as a separate entity, driven by speculative behavior and short-term gains, rather than by the long-term health of businesses and communities. Olivia was particularly intrigued by this disconnect. She recalled how during economic booms, a rising stock market often created a false sense of prosperity. However, when market corrections occurred, the negative impact was felt most acutely by workers and consumers, who experienced layoffs, reduced wages, and higher living costs. This cycle of boom and bust was exacerbated by a financial system that prioritized rapid gains over sustainable growth. Budd argues that this misalignment has profound implications. It undermines public trust in financial institutions, fuels economic inequality, and creates instability that can ripple through society. He calls for a rethinking of how we structure financial markets to better serve the real economy. Instead of focusing solely on financial metrics, we should aim to create a system where capital allocation truly supports innovation, job creation, and social well-being. Practical tips. Look beyond stock prices. When assessing economic health, consider employment statistics, consumer spending, and innovation rates. Support policies that bridge the gap. Advocate for reforms that align financial market incentives with long-term economic stability. Educate yourself. Read up on economic history to understand past disconnects and the reforms that followed. Chapter 5. Rethinking financial regulation. One of the most challenging issues Budd addresses is the need to rethink financial regulation. Traditional regulatory frameworks were often designed for a world very different from today's complex, fast-paced financial environment. As new technologies and financial products emerged, regulators struggled to keep up, leading to loopholes and systemic risks. Olivia learned that many crises could have been mitigated with more effective regulation. For example, during the 2008 financial crisis, inadequate oversight of mortgage-backed securities and derivatives contributed significantly to the collapse of major financial institutions. Budd stresses that regulation should not stifle innovation but must ensure that financial practices are transparent, accountable, and aligned with the real economy's needs. He proposes several innovative approaches to regulation. Adaptive regulation, rules that evolve with technological and market changes. Risk-based oversight, focusing regulatory efforts on the areas with the highest potential for systemic risk. Enhanced transparency, ensuring that financial products and practices are understandable, not only to regulators but also to the public. Practical tips. Stay informed about regulatory changes. Follow financial news and policy discussions to understand new regulatory approaches. Engage with thought leaders. Participate in seminars or webinars on financial regulation to learn about emerging trends. Advocate for smart regulation support policies that balance innovation with stability and public trust. Chapter 6. The social impact of financial decisions. Budd makes a compelling argument that financial decisions are not made in a vacuum. They have real, tangible effects on society. Olivia began to see how the choices made on Wall Street could influence everything from job creation to social mobility. For instance, when banks lend too freely or engage in risky investments, the resulting financial instability often leads to job losses, reduced public services, and widening income inequality. This realization was eye-opening for Olivia. It challenged the common narrative that the financial market is a separate, self-contained world. In reality, the health of the financial system directly affects the quality of life for everyday people. Budd urges policymakers, investors, and citizens alike to consider the broader social implications of financial practices. Practical tips. Consider the human impact. When making financial decisions, ask how they might affect workers, communities, and public services. Support socially responsible investing. Choose investments that align with ethical and social values. Engage in community discussions. Participate in local forums or policy debates to better understand how financial decisions affect your community. Chapter 7. Bridging the gap. Aligning financial markets with the real economy. Budd argues that the key to a more sustainable and equitable economic future lies in bridging the gap between financial markets and the real economy. This involves restructuring incentives so that financial activities directly contribute to real-world benefits like innovation, job creation, and infrastructure development. Olivia was inspired by examples of companies that successfully integrated financial and real economic objectives. For example, certain technology firms used investment capital not merely for stock buybacks, but to fund research and development that led to groundbreaking products and new industries. These companies demonstrated that aligning financial strategy with real economic value could drive long-term growth and stability. Budd calls for a rethinking of corporate strategies and investor behavior. Instead of chasing short-term gains, firms should invest in projects that have a lasting, positive impact on society. This means a shift in mindset, from viewing finance as a game of numbers to understanding it as a tool for creating tangible benefits. Practical tips. Focus on long-term value. Whether you're an investor or a business leader, prioritize projects that promise sustainable growth. Integrate social metrics. Consider using metrics like job creation, environmental impact, and community development in addition to financial returns. Advocate for corporate responsibility. Encourage companies to report on both their financial and social performance. Chapter 8. The role of technology in modern finance. The rapid advancement of technology has fundamentally changed the landscape of finance. Blockchain, artificial intelligence, and high-frequency trading are just a few examples of how technology is reshaping markets. Budd emphasizes that while these innovations bring efficiency and new opportunities, they also add layers of complexity and risk. Olivia noted that modern financial systems now operate at a speed and scale unimaginable just a few decades ago. Algorithms execute trades in microseconds, and vast amounts of data flow through global networks continuously. This technological revolution, while offering enormous potential, also creates vulnerabilities that can lead to sudden market disruptions. Budd advocates for a balanced approach to technology and finance. He suggests that regulators and market participants must collaborate to ensure that technological advances are used responsibly and transparently. For example, improved data analytics can help detect early signs of market bubbles or fraudulent activity, but only if these tools are applied wisely. Practical tips. Stay updated on tech trends. Regularly read about new technological advancements in finance and consider how they might impact your investments or business. Support transparency initiatives. Advocate for technology that increases transparency in financial transactions. Leverage technology responsibly. Use digital tools and data analytics to make informed decisions rather than relying solely on automated systems. Chapter 9. Rethinking financial education. One of the less discussed but profoundly important aspects of Budd's thesis is the need for a paradigm shift in financial education. Olivia began to question how economics and finance were taught in schools and universities, often as abstract theories divorced from real-world impacts. Budd argues that a modern education in finance should include a strong emphasis on understanding both the real and financial economies. This means teaching students not just how markets work, but how financial decisions affect everything, from local communities to global stability. Olivia realized that better financial literacy could empower citizens to make smarter decisions, hold leaders accountable, and drive demand for reforms that bridge the gap between finance and reality. For example, courses that integrate data analysis with ethical considerations can prepare future leaders to navigate a complex financial landscape. Olivia attended several webinars and community workshops on responsible investing and sustainable finance, which broadened her perspective and reinforced the need for systemic change. Practical tips. Invest in your education. Take courses or attend seminars on finance, economics, and sustainable investing. Engage with community programs. Join local financial literacy programs to deepen your understanding and share knowledge with others. Advocate for curriculum reform. Support initiatives that aim to update financial education to include real-world applications and ethical considerations. Chapter 10. Policy, Politics, and the Future of Finance. Budd's analysis doesn't stop at the mechanics of finance. It also delves into the role of public policy and political decisions in shaping the financial system. Olivia realized that many of the challenges in modern finance stem from outdated regulatory frameworks that no longer align with the fast-paced, technology-driven global economy. For example, during the 2008 financial crisis, Lax regulations allowed risky financial products to proliferate, ultimately leading to widespread economic collapse. Budd argues that policymakers must work to modernize financial regulation, ensuring that rules keep pace with innovation while protecting the real economy. This involves rethinking how governments and regulatory bodies measure success. Rather than focusing solely on GDP growth or stock market performance, they should also consider indicators of social well-being, income distribution, and environmental impact. Olivia became more politically engaged, attending town hall meetings and reading policy proposals. She realized that sustainable change requires active civic participation and informed voters who demand accountability from their leaders. Practical tips: stay politically informed, follow economic policy news, and understand how regulatory changes may affect both the financial and real economies. Participate in public discourse. Engage in discussions and vote for policies that promote transparency, fairness, and sustainable growth. Advocate for holistic metrics. Support efforts to develop broader indicators of economic health beyond traditional financial metrics. Chapter 11. Bridging the Divide Toward a Unified Economic Vision. One of the central messages of Finance at the Threshold is that the real and financial economies are not separate entities, but two sides of the same coin. Olivia learned that the future of economic stability lies in integrating these two realms to create a more balanced and resilient system. Budd challenges the conventional wisdom that treats financial markets as detached from the real world. He argues that by aligning financial practices with the needs of the real economy, such as investing in sustainable development, supporting local industries, and fostering innovation, we can create a system that benefits everyone. Olivia was inspired by examples of companies and governments that had begun to adopt this integrated approach. For instance, some firms now prioritize environmental, social, and governance (ESG) criteria when making investment decisions, ensuring that their capital allocation supports positive societal outcomes. Similarly, public policies are increasingly considering factors like social equity and environmental sustainability, alongside traditional economic metrics. Budd envisions a future where the financial system works, not just for speculators and large institutions, but for everyday people, where growth is measured by the quality of life, not just by the numbers on a balance sheet. Practical tips: support sustainable investments. Consider investments that align with ESG principles, as these are designed to benefit both the financial and real economies. Promote integrated metrics. Advocate for policies that measure success, not just in financial terms, but in terms of social well-being and environmental health. Engage in long-term thinking. Look beyond short-term market fluctuations and focus on building a resilient economic future. Chapter 12. The Road Ahead: Rethinking Our Economic Future. The final chapter of Budd's work leaves Olivia and us with a call to action. The threshold between the real and financial economies is not a fixed barrier. It is an ever-evolving space that we have the power to shape. Budd challenges policymakers, business leaders, and citizens to rethink how we structure our economic systems to create a more equitable, sustainable, and dynamic future. Olivia reflected on her own journey. Through years of working in the financial sector, she had seen firsthand the consequences of a system that favored speculation over genuine, sustainable growth. Now, equipped with Budd's insights, she felt compelled to advocate for change. She began writing articles, speaking at conferences, and engaging in policy discussions about how to build a financial system that truly served the needs of society. Budd emphasizes that the future of finance lies in rethinking our values. Rather than idolizing rapid growth, short-term gains, or high-frequency trading, we should focus on long-term prosperity, innovation, and social well-being. The choices we make today will determine the kind of world we leave for future generations. The real measure of an economy is not how much wealth it accumulates, but how it improves the quality of life for all its citizens. Olivia took this message to heart. She started to see that she wasn't powerless. She could be part of a movement toward a more just and resilient economic system. Whether through her professional work, her investments, or her political engagement, she began to take steps to bridge the gap between finance and reality. Practical tips: educate yourself continuously. Stay updated on economic theories and policy changes that affect both the real and financial sectors. Advocate for change. Use your voice through voting, community organizing, or professional networks to promote policies that support sustainable economic growth. Think globally, act locally. While the financial system is global, its impacts are deeply local. Focus on community-based initiatives that can drive systemic change from the ground up. Chapter 13. Embracing Complexity and Uncertainty. One of the most challenging aspects of Budd's work is its acknowledgement of the inherent complexity and uncertainty in modern economies. Olivia learned that there are no simple solutions or one-size-fits-all approaches to balancing the real and financial realms. The economic landscape is dynamic and multifaceted, influenced by technology, politics, culture, and global events. Budd encourages a mindset of adaptive learning and continuous improvement. Instead of seeking definitive answers, we should embrace the complexity of our world and remain flexible in our approaches. This perspective was liberating for Olivia, who had often felt overwhelmed by the seemingly chaotic nature of modern finance. For example, during the COVID-19 pandemic, markets experienced unprecedented volatility. Traditional models struggled to predict or manage the crisis. But those organizations that embraced adaptive strategies and stayed open to new data were better equipped to navigate the uncertainty. Olivia realized that in both her professional and personal life, being open to change and continuously learning was crucial for success. Practical tips. Stay flexible. Adopt a mindset that welcomes change and uncertainty as opportunities for learning. Invest in continuous education. Regularly update your skills and knowledge about emerging trends in technology, finance, and policy. Develop adaptive strategies. Build contingency, plans for unexpected changes, and remain open to revising your strategies as new information emerges. Chapter 14. The Human Element in Economics. While Budd's analysis is rich in theory and data, one of the most compelling aspects of Finance at the Threshold is its focus on the human impact of financial decisions. Olivia realized that behind every market trend, every stock fluctuation, and every regulatory change are real people. Workers, families, and communities whose lives are profoundly affected by these forces. Budd argues that we must not lose sight of the human element in our pursuit of economic efficiency. The true measure of any economic system is how well it serves its people. When financial decisions prioritize speculative gains over human well-being, the result is not just a market crash, it is a societal failure. Olivia saw this during the 2008 financial crisis, where the collapse of financial institutions left millions unemployed and financially devastated. This human toll underscored the urgency of rethinking our economic priorities. Budd's call to integrate ethical considerations into financial practices resonated deeply with her, reminding her that economics is ultimately about improving lives. Practical tips. Prioritize policies that benefit people. Support initiatives that improve wages, job security, and social welfare. Advocate for inclusive growth. Encourage investments in sectors that create sustainable jobs and uplift communities. Measure success by human impact. When evaluating an organization or policy, consider its effect on quality of life, not just its financial returns. Conclusion: bridging two worlds for a better tomorrow. Olivia's journey through Finance at the Threshold transformed her understanding of economics. She realized that the real and financial economies, though distinct, are intertwined in ways that profoundly affect every aspect of our lives. The insights she gained from Houghton Budd's book empowered her to see the flaws in a system that prioritizes short-term gains over long-term stability and human well-being. By rethinking the relationship between finance and the real economy, we can begin to address some of the most pressing challenges of our time: inequality, instability, and unsustainable growth. The threshold is not a barrier. It is a bridge that, when crossed, offers the promise of a more equitable and resilient future. As Olivia now works tirelessly to educate others and advocate for change, she stands as a beacon of hope, a reminder that our economic future is not set in stone, but is shaped by the choices we make today. The path to a better tomorrow lies in our ability to bridge the gap between finance and reality, to think critically, and to act with both wisdom and compassion. The future is not predetermined. It is created by those willing to bridge the gap between what is and what could be. Houghton Budd. Final takeaways. When the real and financial economies are interconnected, understand that the decisions made in financial markets affect everyday life. 2. Embrace the threshold. Recognize that we are at a critical juncture where rethinking traditional economic models is essential, but balance innovation with prudence. While financial innovation can drive growth, it must be tempered with sound risk management and ethical oversight. 4. Focus on long-term value. Prioritize sustainable growth and genuine societal benefits over short-term speculative gains. 5. Advocate for transparency and accountability. Demand clear, understandable financial practices that serve the real economy. 6. Invest in education and civic engagement. Stay informed and participate in shaping policies that influence economic outcomes. 7. Think beyond numbers. Look at economic success through the lens of social well-being, environmental sustainability, and quality of life. Our world is at a crossroads, and the future of our economies depends on our ability to see beyond traditional models. Olivia's transformation is a call to action. It reminds us that while the financial world may seem abstract and remote, its impact is deeply personal. We have the power to rethink our economic future, to advocate for a system that values both growth and equity, and to leave a legacy of positive change for generations to come.